Well, good evening and welcome to Fort Mitchell City Council. Today, what is today? Today is January the 10th, 2022, and we are live streaming tonight's meeting due to COVID with our staff at Fort Mitchell, and I'm kind of under the weather myself. So we're going to get things started, and then for the roll call, I'm just going to check everyone's mic, and that'll count as your member of roll. So in no particular order, just going on the order that's on my screen. Councilman Dethridge,
Here.
Miss Burns,
Here.
Miss Knockhazel,
Here.
Mr. Polgears,
Here.
Miss Roding,
Here.
Mr. Steckel.
Here.
All right, Amy, we'll just mention that Vicky's absent, Miss Berger, and go through. All right, is there a approval of the agenda submitted?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Polgears?
Second.
Second, Ms. Burns, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Anyone oppose? All right, motion carries. Council, you received the minutes from December 6th meeting. Is there any changes?
Motion to approve.
I
All right.
second.
Etheridge, second, Ms.
Second.
Rhodes. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anyone
Aye.
opposed? All right, motion carries. Joe, I'm going to bring it to you. Can you see if there's anybody live on Facebook, and Edwin for YouTube? Just keep an eye on that. If there's questions from the general audience, we will go back and take those. But as of right now, I'm assuming there's no questions directed towards us.
Nothing on YouTube or Facebook.
Okay.
And I have not received any emails.
Members that are watching tonight live, January the 10th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. If you're watching and you want to ask a question, we will come back to that. So, all right, under the city attorney's report, I think you're up.
Yes, we have ordinance 2022-01, and this is an ordinance of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, repealing the Fort Mitchell zoning ordinance.
All right.
I'm sorry? Okay. Adopted as ordinance 1982-20 and all amendments thereto, and adopting a new zoning ordinance, which includes new text and a new official zoning map for the city of Fort Mitchell. And this is a first reading.
Council, obviously, we've been discussing this for quite a long time. I'm getting feedback. I'm not sure who that is. If you're
I'm
not,
getting feedback also.
yeah, I guess if you don't mind, at least muting yourself until you're ready, to talk, but I'll give everybody ample opportunity. Z21 is something that's been discussed at length. Again, this is just the first reading, but if you haven't really had a chance to ask any of your questions or get any comments, this is a fairly important piece of legislation that we're adopting here. This is our ordinances, and we've gone through, and Mr. Polgears and I think Ms. Knockhazel, you guys were on the committee working with Edwin, and we worked with Sharma, and so there's a lot of time put into this. So
And
there's
Mike
any-
was involved as well, just a point. Mike Steckel was
Oh,
involved.
Mike Stickle, I'm sorry, Mike. But a lot of people put a lot of time into this, so we want to make sure we get this right, and that there's a lot to it. So we're happy to answer any questions now or obviously later on before the second reading. All right, Claire, I don't hear any. Go
There was a
ahead.
message in the chat that the live stream stopped. So are we back on, or I just wanted to check the status of that before we continue on?
That needs to.
Okay, good call. I didn't catch that.
The YouTube live stream is still going. I just checked it.
Joe, can you check Facebook live stream
Yeah, it's not, it says there's a problem with it on TBNK.
on the TBNK side?
Yeah.
Claire? Any concerns?
Well, how have we, so we have published that it's available on YouTube and Facebook.
Yeah, and it's on our YouTube channel. I mean, we're still streaming right now.
Okay, so I think if we're streaming one place, we could, but if we want to take a few minutes to just get Facebook sorted out, we can. I mean, probably that's the most conservative action, but do we know what's going on with Facebook and TBNK?
It's a TBNK issue. Hold on. Joe, if you can, maybe post the YouTube link on Facebook.
I just did.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, I just wanted to be careful because we have the reading. So I think if it's available on YouTube, and people can find us there, I think if we're still, I see that it still says we're live on YouTube, so I think we're okay to proceed.
Your meeting is live. Your meeting is live on all our channels.
Wonderful, thank you.
Great, thank you, TBNK.
All right.
Okay, so now we have ordinance 2022-02, and this is an ordinance of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, amending the annual department summary budget for the capital replacement and park tax funds of the city for the fiscal year July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, and directing this ordinance to be published by summary.
This is a first reading. Edwin, you want to explain this? I know you and I discussed this today.
Yeah, actually, I'll probably turn it over to Amy. She's got all the talking points on this.
Okay. The detail is behind the wording of the ordinance and then the summary budget, but the detail that supports those numbers are behind it. The park budget, we increased the revenue coming in for donations or grants, just because some of the costs went up to cover that. I also wanted to note that the beginning fund balance, some of the costs didn't happen that we budgeted for in June 30th, 2021. So the beginning fund balance is higher by $143,000. If you go on down to the middle of the page, the engineering fees are coming in a little bit higher without having a public works director. We are having the engineer manage the project. So that's going to be a little bit higher. And then if you turn the page, the capital improvements and equipment cost increased. 129,000 that we budgeted for in the prior year didn't happen. So that's a lot of this increase. The site work is a little bit higher. It was 860,000 and now it's 885. And then there's a couple change orders that I'll let Edwin explain.
Yeah, so with the park construction, I think I've mentioned this before, but there was a sanitary lateral that had to be rerouted in the park, and it wasn't on a map, on SD1's map. No one knew that it was there until they actually got in there dealing with the site work. So that is a change order. That's anywhere, it's going to be anywhere from about 36,000 to maybe a little over 40,000 estimated change order to do that. So they are rerouting that. We've added some fencing. You may recall there's a large fence on the volleyball court, and the fence is cut in several places. It's really not in good shape. We're adding that. We're also adding some fencing along the soccer field. So that accounts for those change orders. I will also add too that a lot of, in looking at ARPA, the funds that we received, in all likelihood, well, the FOS funds are eligible to be used on the park. So those will cover that. So. Mayor, did you have anything to add?
No, I think we discussed that a little bit previous. Park is moving forward, but it's we've definitely had some hiccups.
Okay, and then moving on to the capital projects fund. I wanted just to point out that the beginning fund balance is higher from cost not being spent from the prior year. So that's pretty much an actual number. If you go on down to the intergovernmental, there's $139,000 of a firefighter grant to cover the SCBA's. What's that stand for, Adam?
Self-contained breathing apparatus.
Yes. So we had that in the capital budget for next year, but because this grant is covering it this year, we just moved it from next year to this year. So there's an expense down below that this revenue covers. Also, we received the donation of the baby box. So I have to record that as an expense, but I also have to record it as a revenue. It's a net cash of zero, So that's about $25,000. That's an estimate right now because I know the baby box is worth $10,000, but then there's all the installation that's been donated. So we just did that to be conservative. So there's an expense down below that it was added for the $25,000. We've got the Ashley construction fees for the building construction that we thought would happen by June 30th, but some of it was after June 30th. And that was for the air conditioning units and the different renovations that we did last year. It doesn't look like we're doing the public works building design this year. So we've just taken that out of this year's budget. We left a little bit in engineering because sometimes we do need some engineering services. We also have here a land purchase for Avon Drive. I think the purchase price is $20,000. We have a resolution later about that. But then there might be some legal expenses, so or closing cost or something like that. So we just put $20,000 for that. As far as sidewalks, we still have 29 to 30 trees to replace on Virginia, plus some wrap up. That was more than we had budgeted, so that increased to 180,000. And if you go down 2 more line items, we do have, that's where we have the baby box added. So that cost increase in the miscellaneous building and expenses. And then the police vehicles, and we added the cruiser for the K9, which you guys approved in a resolution. So that's added there. And then the next line under police equipment, there was some body cameras that were supposed to come in as of June 30th, 2021. They came after, so we have to put it in this year. And then also we'll have a server and some digital conversion. So that's about $44,000. The ambulance came in a little less. And then we have the SCBA's, and which we discussed before up in the revenue. And then on the next page, $170,000, we have the backhoe and a skid steer and then the trailer. So those are all the changes.
Council, this is a first reading. If there's any questions, we can take those, or if if we need to get into more detail of how we shifted those, and the majority of them were expenses from last year moving to this year. So any questions from council? All right, hearing none. Claire?
Okay, now we have a municipal order and it's 2022-01, and it's a order of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, approving the appointment of a public works director.
So we'll bring Nick in here, and us, maybe he'll turn on his camera. There's Nick. So I'm very excited to bring Nick's name to you, council. I think Nick, coming from the county, having a background with the transportation department and the county through their public works, he brings just a wealth of knowledge and a wealth of experience with him. And I really think that he'll really, man, I see his daughter there. He'll bring a great change to Fort Mitchell and doing that. So I know some of you had the chance to meet him, but I wanted to introduce him to you. Edwin, did I miss anything?
No, I think we're very impressed with his experience. I think he's going to be a great asset to the city. And Nick, do you want to give a little bit about say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I think Jude hit most of the highlights. I've been born and raised here in Northern Kentucky, and just love the area. This is home to me, and worked at the transportation cabinet right out of high school. Been working at the county for 6+ years now, and passionate about roads, which sounds really dumb, but I just love it. So it's a good thing. I enjoy starting projects and finishing them and seeing it through completion and getting things done and making things better. It's just something I really enjoy doing, and I appreciate all your vote of confidence in me, and I'm really excited about the opportunity to build upon and continue all the good work that's going on in Fort Mitchell.
Welcome aboard, Nick.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, welcome, Nick.
You talk about Northern Kentucky family names, and I think Tuis is one that is up there pretty high with a recognizable and big family name. So that makes it easy. So that's a reading. We would for this appointment, I would need a motion and a second and a voice vote.
Motion to approve.
Okay, Ms. Burns, I heard you, and then I heard
I second if you haven't heard it.
second, Ms. Roding. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Is there
Aye.
anyone who opposes? Nick, congratulations and welcome aboard. So
Thank you, guys. I'm excited to start.
your work is piling up. So you start February the 1st, I think. Is that right? Or January, the last day in January?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, all right. Well, thank you. You can stick around, or you can go, but we're excited to have you. So,
All right. Thanks, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Claire, we got another one?
Yes, now we have a resolution. So it's number 2022-01, and this is a resolution of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, authorizing a contribution to the Northern Kentucky Triad Build and Elevate Northern Kentucky campaign.
So we were going to try to have them present at the meeting, and because of COVID and such, but Triad, obviously, probably most of you know what Triad does, but they go out and they're meeting and meeting businesses and trying to bring businesses into Northern Kentucky. A lot of their success has been larger industrial type businesses, but now they have a new focus to where they're looking at land. They're looking at office building, retail, all that. And I think we have even though we don't have the land that we'll say Boone County has, we still play in a very important part, in that economic development. And what they were asking for each city, it's a $2,500 that they're asking for this to help fund. Their funding right now is primarily from automotive car rentals. And you can imagine what happened during COVID. for a year and a half, almost 2 years, the car rental business, is extremely went down. They are doing a campaign and fundraising to bring it back up. But they're looking for some offset and not large amounts, but they do. And we've met with them, most recent about a business on Royal Drive. So they do a pretty good job and they're refocused. And I thought it was a pretty good ask. Does any council have concerns with that?
No concern.
I would just need a motion and a second and a voice vote.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Dethridge,
Second.
second, Ms. Knockhazel, all in favor?
Second it.
Aye.
Anyone oppose? All right, motion carries. Claire?
Okay, we have resolution number 2022-02, and that's a resolution of the city of Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, authorizing the purchase of the property known as 2549 Avon Drive, Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, 41017.
So council, this was not budgeted, obviously, but the SD1 had to purchase this property. It sits across from our property that we own on Avon with where the park is. And I don't have any plans for this, but Edwin, I guess I can disclose because they've already the amount, correct?
Yes, it's part of the resolution too.
So disclosing the amount of $15,000, how we came up with that is it's the taxable value of that land. The land is worth a lot more than that. They did tear down a house. There's a sanitary line and a water line that go on each side of that property. So it's not great for building. You could use it for green space. You could use it for parking. You could use it for, if we'd ever want, the park would want to consider actually having that as a cut through or stairs or a ramp or something that would connect other parts of Fort Mitchell that are up there. Those could all be on the table. So bringing this, if you want to move forward, be purchasing from another government entity, which is legally we can do that, and it's a pretty cheap value.
Motion to approve.
Mr. Polgears,
Second it.
second, Mr. Steckel. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone oppose? All right, motion carries. Claire, that's your last one, correct?
Yes.
All right. I don't really have anything on the mayor's report that's new. A lot of the stuff that I want to cover, it's in someone else's report. I've gotten a lot of complaints about Royal Drive, and I know Chief Sherberg's going to talk about that. And mine was the property. So, Edwin, do you have anything that you want to cover? And we can.
Yeah, I don't have much. Primarily, it was the park update. Just to let you know, we did have the setback for the installation of that lateral, rerouting of that lateral. We were hoping that they would be able to get the parking lot paved before the plant shut down. That was not the case, just because they had to proof roll the parking lot, so they weren't able to get that done because the ground was too wet, basically. So that had to be pushed off to the spring. So it will delay the project a month or two in all likelihood, barring crazy weather in the spring. But they are still doing work. They are still able to do work. They've started on the pavilion, and they're moving forward over the winter, continuing to build that pavilion while rerouting that lateral. The other thing I had on my list too is the planning meeting. So we do have a planning meeting scheduled for January 24th. I do think I agree that this meeting would probably be better in person. If we are unable to have that meeting in person, then it may be possibly we might be looking at moving that back a little bit. We'll keep you posted on the situation here. As you all know, we had to go virtual because of some COVID exposure and cases. So I'll keep you posted on that. But in the meantime, if you can be thinking of initiatives or areas of interest that that you would like to see addressed over the next the coming fiscal year, so we can include those in our list for that planning session. So if you can get those to me as soon as you can, that would be great. Feel free to just email them, or if you don't feel like typing it out, I'm happy to talk through them and I'll take the notes. Just note what's important to you. With that, that's all I have.
Any questions for Edwin? All right, comments from council?
I would like to thank the police chief and Officer Jill for helping me complete my neighborly duties. They are a great help to me on Friday.
All right,
Always happy to help.
Thank you very much, Andrew.
anyone else? All right.
I do have one question about Royal Drive that doesn't have anything to do with the police department, just the condition of the road.
Mary, that's one of the things I was going to have Nick tackle as soon as he's in, what minimum expense that we can do. I will say that we met last week with the developer again, and things are still moving forward. I do feel good about it. It doesn't help Royal Drive, but that'll be the first thing that they want to close and redo.
And Jude, correct me if I'm wrong, once this process gets moving along, Royal Drive's going to have a totally different footprint, right? I mean, we're tearing it up and creating a new street in a different part. Yeah.
They have to balance that site, and in order to do that, Royal Drive from the top all the way to pretty much the hotel will be closed for several months.
Mm-hmm.
Jude, when you met with the developer, did you get a timeline or time frame for when this might begin?
They still want to do the road late spring, early summer.
Okay.
So it's been moved from the winter to late spring, early summer?
They're submitting for plans and everything else. They can't do the road. They can't build a road in the winter time and compact that, but they do want to start moving dirt. Once they start moving dirt, Mary, unfortunately, that's when the road will have to close.
Well, that's fine. It's just, I can't wait for the start.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I thought they had talked about starting in January, moving some dirt around. So,
Just in the early this year. That's what they said originally. So, any other questions for Edwin? Any comments from council? All right, let's do, I guess, Amy, I'd like to talk about a couple things that you have on your plate with taxes and everything. You're muted.
Muted, Amy.
I did a spreadsheet. I could share it or I can just go over it verbally. But basically, we've collected of the 2021 taxes, 99.2% of the amount. So we've collected, and this is Fort Mitchell's portion, 2,224,356. So our uncollected portion is just under 18,000.
that's great.
So we've done, and some of those are payment plans. So, and then we actually had 2 payments today, so it'll be even less than that.
Amy, on the $18,000 that's outstanding, or any of them large balances?
I don't have that in front of me. Now, there are some large balances of properties of years prior to 2021 that I didn't include on this. I just did 2021. And there are some balances of many years, and they're going through foreclosures right now.
Okay.
So those are working through the legal system, and we have
It-
liens on every, all the delinquent years prior also.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Amy, anything else?
Nope.
Adam, Chief Fuller?
You're muted. There you go.
Here is my button decides to work. Believe it or not, I don't have a whole lot.
Okay, that's enough. Chief Sherberg?
Man. So it's pretty much all in my report. Hopefully the baby box, we're hoping to get it live this week. We got a couple of things to work out there, but we'll probably do it without the press release. Probably kind of a soft opening. So hopefully that goes this week. And then other than that, it's all in the report. Pretty big year. If you guys look at the annual statistics, we had 190 run increase from the previous year to this year on our total call volume. So I will wow you next month with a full annual report with much better stats. So that'll be next month's report.
Anything for Chief Fuller? All right. Chief Sherberg?
I think most of my report's going to be focused on Royal Drive. So I'll start with sort of the ongoing thing on Royal, which is the COVID, the testing site, the evening testing. We have been in talks with Gravity, the provider there, as well as St. Elizabeth, the owner of the property, about some of the traffic issues and looking into ways to alleviate that. We did, so just to give everybody a little bit of a history on it, we really haven't seen any traffic issues or any major traffic issues until probably the last 3 weeks. The site has really, we've had a small line that extended on a Royal Drive, and we were previously extending that line toward Beechwood Road. Right before Christmas, we saw a significant increase in testing and had a day where that line extended on the Beechwood Road, split both directions, and kind of wreaked some havoc on the neighborhoods for a couple of days there. So we were able to move that line, got permission from Christ Hospital to have that line go on the old Montgomery Inn lot. Still tied up Royal Drive, but in my opinion, there were some pretty reasonable alternatives for getting around that. However, it's taking 2 police officers now. We used to have 1 police officer assigned to that site, and with those lines extending like that, we've had to have a second. I have had some questions about that. Those are overtime details, so that is billed to Gravity. That is not, that's not something that we're paying for as a city. We're paying the officers, but it's reimbursed. The cost is reimbursed. And we do rely on Lakeside Park, Crescent Hills Police Authority, and Fort Wright as well to help supplement those numbers. Because right now, again, it's requiring 2 officers a night, and it's requiring the officers to start much earlier than the 5 o'clock testing site starts. We received permission from Brandy Corps to make a little bit of a change to the traffic pattern tonight. We used what I'll call the lower lot of the old Drawbridge property to basically extend the line as much as we could off of Royal Drive. I don't have the latest update on how that worked. I can tell you that I drove by about 4:30, and the way we had the traffic pattern snaked through that parking lot, it was about halfway to 3/4 of the way full already at 4:30. Again, they don't start testing until 5. And I think right around 5 o'clock, it was almost close to full. So they do, I think, about 350 tests a night there. So that, and we're guessing that parking lot would hold, as we had it configured today, 150 to 200 cars. So I'll have a report from the officers who worked tonight to see how the plan worked tonight, but hopefully that helped relieve some of the problems for the neighbors there. The other thing we were running into is people were, because St. Elizabeth is testing in that lot until 4:30, when people are showing up at sometimes as early as 2 o'clock for the 5 o'clock testing, they were parking in the reserves apartment complex and parking spots there. And that just was really hard for us to manage because we don't know what cars belong there, what cars don't belong there. We got that figured out, I think. And so we're we're moving on. I'll know how tonight worked once the officers finish up.
In the line, do they take anyone who's there by 9 o'clock, or do they shut it off before 9 with the number of cars?
They I apologize, my battery is running low. My light just turned off. They know that's another issue that has come up is it gets so full that sometimes we've been having to shut things off by as early as like 6 o'clock and send people out of line. So that's another issue.
Yeah, Mary, Chief Sherberg's example of the car. So what you don't know is there 2 people in the car, 3, 4, 5 people that need to be tested? And that's what's been so tough. But people have been very, very upset. It's not the ideal location, but I will say that when the original ask was from St. Elizabeth just for their employees, and then they also had their same-day surgery, it worked. There wasn't any bad traffic. And we hadn't had bad traffic until kind of the spike. So, how long this lasts, they are looking for other sites, as the chief said. We're trying to work. I hate to lose them. Not that we have a revenue, but it is a nice convenient spot for people that need it. There's always an alternate issue, and obviously the traffic is one. So
it is starting to get to the point where it's taxing our resources a little bit, just in terms of staffing a 2-person detail every night. So we're working with them.
Thanks.
Any other questions about that Royal Drive issue? All right, and then we did, I'm sure most of you know, have a SWAT call out at the Super 8 on Royal on Friday night. Long story short, our officers, dispatch got a call from someone who was pretty frantic and said someone was breaking in. When Officer Brown got there, the person claimed to have shot someone. So Officer Brown backed off and started evacuating other rooms. We got the SWAT team involved. Officer Brown switched over to negotiator mode. He's a negotiator on the SWAT team. They attempted to make contact. They couldn't. So they eventually were able to use a room key to get in and make contact with the guy. He was in the bathroom. They were able to negotiate at that point, have him come out and peacefully surrender. It was a mix of drug use and some mental health issues. But it resolved within about 3 hours, I think, and peacefully, most importantly. No one was hurt.
Great.
Thank God they closed testing that night.
That would have been a whole different situation if we had that
Right.
line there. Yeah, absolutely. We were very thankful for that. That's really big.
Chief Sherberg? All right, Joe?
A couple of mark your calendar type events coming up. On March 15th, it's a Tuesday. We're going to have bingo for Fort Mitchell seniors here at the city building at 2 o'clock. Mary, I'm not sure if you wanted to add anything to that.
Well, we should solicit some gifts to hand out or something to raffle.
Okay.
But they seem to be very excited about coming.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah,
good.
good.
Do they have to be Fort Mitchell residents, Joe?
I
No,
believe so,
no.
yes.
Yes?
Is that how it was in the past, Mary, or not?
This Fort Mitchell senior group is not necessarily all Fort Mitchell people. In fact, the person who was president at one time lived in Cincinnati.
Okay.
So,
Joe, reach me. We'll do something.
Okay.
As our business in locally here, we'll sponsor
Okay.
something for that.
And Joe, I bet Jim's Beverage will donate something.
Okay.
thank you.
Again, that's Tuesday, March 15th at 2 o'clock at the city building. A couple of other things. I'm working on like a spring cleaning type of month for April. On Saturday, April 16th, we're going to have a document destruction day like we had back in the fall. We'll have that from 9 to 12 here at the city building in the parking lot. On Saturday, April 23rd, we'll have the community-wide yard sale from 8 until noon. And then on Saturday, April 30th, we'll have the large item pickup day with Best Way Disposal. So just a couple of dates out there to mark your calendars with.
Joe, what was that last date? I'm sorry about.
Saturday, April 30th.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are we
That's all I
gonna have 2 garage sales or just one?
Just one,
Okay. Or yard sales?
right?
Great. Any other questions for Joe? All right, anything else? Joe, I guess I'll go back to you. Is there, and Edwin, is there any questions online? I promised.
Nope, not that I've seen.
I do not see any.
Okay. Before we motion to go, I just wanted to mention that Miss Berger is not here tonight due to her father-in-law, Mr. Fred Berger, passed away. He was a 60-year resident here in the city of Fort Mitchell. So our condolences are with the Berger family tonight as they're grieving the loss of Mr. Berger. So that's all I have. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Everybody.
Is that-
Etheridge is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Bye all.
Bye.
one,
Thank
stay
you. Happy
safe.
New Year.
Bye.